Coondogs Outdoor Adventures here, Camping 101, Part 3. And the sun's starting to come out now, starting to really enjoy things here. So I want to wrap this up and get to enjoying this stuff instead of doing this video. But one thing you want to do when you're going camping, if you're going with a bunch of people, drive separate. Sometimes people tap out. In fact, the kind of camping that I do, I have a high percentage of people that tap out, and that's okay if people want to go home, but drive separate. If you, it can get kind of messy between people if some people want to go home and some people want to stay. So you need to insist on driving separate if you want those people want to stay. And people be whining and stuff, and I understand that people just have to get used to it. And once you get used to it and weigh the benefits with the discomforts don't mean that much. If you can get away like me for a few days, even though it's been raining here, and you get peace of mind and seek the Lord and have some devotion time with the Lord and without distraction, it's all worth it. But anyway, I just suggest driving separate. Weather, lightning, I have an air mattress to insulate me from any lightning. Lightning storms freak me out when I'm camping, especially if you're away from your vehicle. Where are you going to go? Yeah, I mean, you can go to your vehicle if you're near it, but I do not recommend, I strongly against, camping on top of a mountain when there's a chance of electrical storm. On the side of the mountain is better, down below. Don't camp in the middle of a field, of course, where you're sticking out like a sore thumb. Hanging your food. It's important. Now, these woods right here, it's difficult to hang the food because these trees are competing with each other. There isn't low-hanging horizontal branches, strong branches you can hang your food on. You find those by lakes, ponds, clearings. You can have a strong branch to throw your rope over. If you throw your rope over one of these branches, it'd be too close to the tree and the bear can get the food. I like hanging them over water. That's my favorite place if you're near a body of water. Make sure the food is downwind when you hang it from your campsite, not your campsite downwind from your food, or else animals will pass by your campsite to get to your hanging food. Don't bring your food and cook by your campsite. I do here because I'm used to animals. I know the animals in this area. I know the bears are heavily hunted. They're going to leave you alone. You just have to shoo them off. I have my food around my site. This isn't a frequently used site. It's in state land, and I've had the only visitors I've had it was 4 deer that came through. I've been watching the deer. I've been quiet, just enjoying the scenery, and the deer have come through. But raccoons, if they're not afraid of you, you need to be afraid of the raccoon. Chances are most of the raccoons, 90% of the rabies cases are raccoons. And if a raccoon's not afraid of you, there's something wrong. You need to stay away from that. Skunks, just don't agitate them if they come around. Of course, if there's food, they're going to want to get into your tent or whatever, but there isn't food, just wait it out. Let them know you're there. Just talk gently to them. Not when they come right up to you, but when you start seeing them, don't scream. I mean, they raise their tail and so on. They're not going to be afraid of you because they're skunks. They pack heat. And you do not want to get sprayed. It can blind you. So just calm your fears and just let them sniff around a bit and just go on with their business somewhere else. Red squirrels can chew into your stuff, so you got to keep an eye on them. Fishers is a larger aggressive weasel. They're larger than a cat, but they're very aggressive. They can be dangerous. They eat porcupines, and they're so fast they can catch red squirrels in trees. I had a designated campsite where people kept on bringing food in their tents, and I had a fisher try and get in my tent one night. There's a lot of fishers out where I am right here. The fishers leave me alone. They're not used to campers and so on. In the state lands, so the fishers got plenty of squirrels to hunt around here, and they have porcupines to hunt, so they pretty much leave me alone. Beaver, don't camp where their beaver is going to drop a tree. If you see a lot of trees drop, don't put your tent there. Sometimes they'll slap their tail in the water as a warning. Don't let that freak you out. If you hear a tree drop in the middle of the night, don't freak out about that. If you're near a pond where there might be beavers. I had one drag a branch by my tent one night. It was very loud. And it was unnerving because I couldn't figure out what it was. It took me a while to figure what it was. You wake up in the middle of the night. Bears, of course. Like I said, this area is heavily hunted. The bears pretty much leave you alone. If you go to an area where bears aren't used to people or haven't seen a person before, they may not be afraid of you. And that's where they can be dangerous. The black bears I'm talking about. And there has been fatalities. There's only been one fatality in New York State because bears are heavily hunted. They're afraid of people. But you go to a remote part of Canada or someone, or Alaska, a black bear might consider you a meal. Rarely, but it does happen. Grizzly bears, always respect. I don't want to mess with a grizzly bear. It's one thing I want to stay away from. They're a lot more aggressive than the black bears. And grizzly bears are a different story. We don't have those in New York State, so I'm not worried about grizzlies here. I'm not worried about the black bears. We do have moose here in New York State. Stay away from the moose with a calf. They can be very dangerous. I've seen moose here. They're gaining a population, but for the most part, the moose are in areas that are very remote. The place where I went, I canoed across the lake and bushwhacked in over a mile to a swamp and found lots of moose sign. You can't hunt them here yet in New York State, but the Senate just passed it, and it's coming. But the animal I'm concerned about the most is the coy wolf. Look on Netflix, there's a show called Coy Wolf that explains about how they're a hybrid between a wolf and a coyote. These things concern me. I pack my 9mm semi-automatic pistol. When I go camping in these areas, there's a lot of them around this area. They do have an effect on the deer population. There's a lot fewer fawns than there used to be. They have effect on the other wildlife population. And there was a young folk singer up in Canada that was killed by a pack of coy wolves, 19-year-old girl. And I've seen 5 years ago when I looked it up, there's 5 different incidences of coy wolves grabbing small children and trying to drag them off before their parents stopped them. One of them was so bold to go inside someone's house when they opened the door with the groceries, and he saw his kid getting dragged backwards to be brought outside by the coy wolf. So in areas where the coy wolves are, be very careful of those animals. Again, if you're larger and so on, for the most part, they'd leave you alone. I've personally never had an incident with a coy wolf. I was out bailing one night. They're not afraid of my tractor, maybe because I was on my tractor. But there is isolated instances of these animals being aggressive towards people. And on YouTube, if you look at a coyote out west was actually trying to attack this guy. It was a really hungry coyote in the winter. And I don't trust those things. But this is the end of 101, but stay tuned. Eventually, I'll be doing 201, camping 201. And then we'll get into wilderness camping and bushwhacking without going off trail with a compass and a map and so on. I'll teach you how to use a compass. And compasses are extremely accurate. I've used them at night, going to a hunting spot at night and come back in wilderness areas to my tent. They're extremely accurate. But you got to build up, confidence in them and so on. And we'll get into winter camping and so on. But just take it a step at a time. Don't go from the New York City to wilderness camping. Take it a step at a time. Go from camping 101, 201, so you can have a pleasant experience and a safe experience. And God bless. And thank you for tuning in to Coon Dog's Outdoor Adventures.